Hello, everyone. Welcome back to God.versation. This is season 3, episode 3. I have with me the returning Apostle Arthur Bogood, and I've got Pastor Kendall Snyder.
What's up, everyone?
Both of Beyond the Four Walls International Media Ministries, which is the banner behind me.
Yes,
I'm your host, Reese Clear. We're going to title this episode today, The Assassination.
Interesting topic.
Yes.
Interesting.
Now, man of God, we discussed a very controversial issue back in episode 2 as far as the gentleman, the man of God, had been assassinated. I almost don't even want to say his name, because it's kind of trending in all of the news.
Yeah.
At the time, I remember telling you that, hey, look, you're the first person that I seen that even had that sort of take on it, because all I had seen at the time was so many different racial undertones towards it.
Right.
So, and you pointed out to me that, he was a man of God, that he just had a way of delivering the unadulterated word. He didn't care if he offended people, and then he was assassinated for it. And I looked today over the Thursday and Friday. I made it a point to look, to see what I could find concerning him. And that's what it was. It was literally so many times that, he was putting God first. That's all he did. He really did put God first, and the conversation was of God.
Yeah.
Now, he was assassinated for that, for telling the truth. It seems to be the way when it comes down to our society, because you got Martin Luther King, who was assassinated, and he was a man of God that was speaking the unadulterated word and trying to bring people together. You got Malcolm X, who was Malcolm X, who was assassinated at the same for having the same ideas as far as trying to bring people together and using the higher power to do so. And there has been many in history that were assassinated for speaking the word. So I kind of think that that's one of the reasons people can get scared of actually speaking the word of God, seeing as how if you get so high up there like he was, you can possibly get assassinated. The enemy will have a sniper on the roof somewhere.
That's intense. But here's the reality. The reality is that truth always puts you at risk of your life getting taken away, people trying to ruin your character. It's been a normal thing. John F. Kennedy, and Malcolm X, you mentioned, Martin Luther King. All of these guys were perpetuators of the truth. And once you find truth, it irritates the enemy, because we know that the devil is the father of lies. Because it's the father of lies, of course, he don't want truth to be revealed, because truth brings freedom. The truth makes you free. Then people likes to live in bondage because it's comfortable. It serves the purpose of satisfying their flesh. So they'll live in that, this word again, the matrix of a lie. And when people are bringing reality to the truth, it makes that person a danger. But reality is Jesus Christ was assassinated for the truth.
Yeah.
If you want to be just perfectly clear, in every disciple or apostle that he birthed, almost all of them was assassinated as well for the truth.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So when you mention this brother Charlie Kirk, which I'm going to say his name because I had the privilege to listen to him on a number of occasions, and what I noticed is the people that has the right-wing belief system about beliefs about him being racist are the ones who have been fed those clips of him speaking about certain things as pertains to race, and again painting the narrative that he was somehow a racist or he was a perpetuator of hatred, and that was far from the truth. He just was a guy that didn't play around with truth, and he didn't care if it offended you. He didn't care if it made you stand out amongst those who are trying to look like they know what they're talking about. He will expose truth, and he didn't care who it exposed.
I noticed too, when I was looking at it, that he was keeping everything was based in God. So it was like, I couldn't even really say it was his opinion because he based it in God.
Yeah.
And then brought it to you the way that it was delivered to him through God. He was a man of God. Like he just spoke the truth in a way that people didn't like it. And once again, my condolences to the family.
Definitely.
That had to lose him for that. Because he was once again at the precipice of delivering the truth. So, but when it comes down to assassination, it's like my heart kind of feels like, man, all of the world's leaders, like you just said, going all the way back to Christ, are assassinated when they speak the word. But yet the scriptures are clear. Go forth and speak the word anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in today's time, or really not even just in today's time, but throughout history, it's been a common thing with folks that's being assassinated, that they're at risk of exposing a false narrative, or they're at risk of exposing something that, as Apostle just stated, is keeping people under their deception, under their control. Whether it be the gentleman's name again is Charles Kirk. I'm not sure. Okay, Charlie Kirk. Whether it's him, just I believe a month or two ago or so, Malcolm Jamal Warner. He was killed, and it was said that he was, right before he was killed, he was getting ready to come out with a book, exposing the industry, exposing exposing Hollywood, or exposing truths and things that were hidden. And so a lot of, like, even like back then in certain areas, in certain places where you would get killed, you would pretty much get killed for speaking of the world, speaking about Christ, speaking the truth. That is even going on here, but it's just in America, there is something that we have that is called a systematic church. As long as you don't speak outside of those borders, as long as you can reveal a systematic truth, but when you reveal a truth that's going to break and establish God's true identity, God's truth to the people, you then become a problem. And now that puts you right in the place of, that can put you in the place of being assassinated or being quieted, as they like to.
Mm-hmm. I would go so far as to say, because you opened up a Pandora's box, so to speak, when you mentioned Jamal, man. So Malcolm. So now that Diddy is speculated to have done this. Epstein, all of these the Epstein list still hasn't been seen. So yeah, it appears that the truth is something that people are willing to kill to conceal. You're able, like you said, to tell a white lie, or you can get close to the edge, but you can't get all the way. But this also applies even on the smallest levels of our society, insofar as when you try to speak the truth, even if it's not a physical assassination where you lose your physical life, there's also a such thing as assassination of character, where your character is assassinated.
Oh yeah,
because you're trying to be a man of God, because you're living the life that according to the scriptures that said, and you're in a circle or a place, that people are not trying to hear that. They're willing to hear that little systematic truth, that they play church, but not really church. They say God, but not really talking about the God you're talking about. And now you risk your assassination attempt on your character happening.
That's very common. And the reason why it's common, because the people that control the media, control broadcasting, also is the one who feeds the public information. So because they control that information, they can paint a narrative to you that could be completely untrue. But because they control it, they can make people who are trying to release truth, they can make them out of bad people and make people kind of shun away from them or discredit them. And that's been a normal practice. A lot of the people who own these media outlets, and if you notice, systematically, all of these big media outlets like Google, and the other ones, Facebook, and all of them, they are now a conglomerate. They're buying out. The bigger ones are buying out the smaller ones, because one of the realities of Facebook is Facebook created a phenomenon of people getting information that was not, filtered by the major broadcasting networks. And so because of that, they became an enemy to the major holders or the major controllers of this information, that they can no longer control the narrative. So what did? They bought them out. Buy them out so they can still control. And that's why it's different than it was before, and so my point is this, assassination of character, a lot of that stuff take place because they control it. We can look at even this phenomenon with the World Wide Web and how it created the opportunity to get access to information that was not normally exposed. It only like about 12, 15 years that we've heard about entities like the Illuminati. You know what I mean? Which is cliche, like, oh, Illuminati. But the reality is that this system has always been intact. But now, because it's being exposed, now, it's all of a sudden, let's make them think that this is a kook or something crazy or something imaginative or something that's not real. And then they'll try to, change that. But the truth is, these secret societies has always existed. The Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. The devil's main power over God's people is perpetuated ignorance of the truth. So if he keep you not knowing, he can always keep you in bondage. Because his job is, don't expose them to the truth. Do not let them see that, number one, we are more powerful. Number two, we have authority. And we're supposed to assert that authority. As long as you don't do that, why do you think one of the major things that the devil fight in church or in ministries is teaching? People will come to church, but they won't come to Bible class. Keep them ignorant. You can shout. He don't mind shouting you. You know what I mean? And so, so that's just been a normal thing, man. It's been happening all the time. Freemasonry is always, and of course, I'm mentioning them. I'm not scared. They are enclosed and encapsulated in the secretness of how they operate, and they have killed people who attempted to reveal them secrets. Them truth. You can't. So it's very true, and that's why, again, if you're going to be a perpetuator of the truth, you also got to understand that you're taking a risk.
So then that's the truth on every level. I believe that that's just the truth on every level, because the enemy is doing these calculated attacks. So, and there was a movie that went out a while ago with Will Smith, and it was called The Enemy of the State. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
But he had somehow become privy to this information that was a guy that was trying to escape death, still got killed, but passed this off to him, and now boom, he don't even know what's going on. He the enemy of the state. But the point is that these people they controlled every single narrative that there was. So then basically, if you want to confuse a person, and you can control what they see, because our society has come to a place to where I want to say this society is dumber than, because of technology, more so than smarter. Because now that everyone wants to be connected and part of the internet and the interweb of things, but you don't control what you exactly see, then someone's character can be assassinated in front of your very face. This man had his character and who he was as a person came down to what side of the media wanted to push it forward. It didn't have to matter that he was a man of God. Like, if racist people wanted to say he's a racist, then they could push that. If someone else that was in maybe the LGBT community or whatever, I don't even know how to pronounce it. They got so many alphabets that they add monthly. They need a dictionary to
so many labels.
So, but them too, like, there's so many ways that the truth is being assassinated, but the truth of God seems to be assassinated on every level.
Of course. Of course. That's why you got to be willing to die for the truth. And I say this all the time. I'm convinced that I'm gonna die a believer.
Yeah, man.
If I'm in a position where I have to choose Jesus Christ over death, then I'm gonna go ahead and be with Jesus. Because you have to be convinced that what we've received through the Word of God and through revelation that comes from the Word of God, and of course Holy Spirit that reveals all things, that we're going to be willing to speak that truth and not care if people don't want to receive it. But to those who will receive it, they can walk in freedom as well. but you're always going to be a target. Our number one foe is the devil himself.
Yeah.
So we already know that he looks to kill, to steal, and destroy. And if he got people that he's using, they're going to be agents of that attack, of those attacks. So we're already on the chopping block. And unfortunately, Charlie Kirk just happened to be a guy who had a platform. He was a self-educated scholar. Nobody even thought about or talked about the fact that he raised millions of dollars, for people. They don't talk about the fact that he was the most impactful leader amongst young men and women, in high school and college. This brother had, he had a very powerful ministry, and his biggest problem is he wasn't going to take down because people wanted him to, or would have been safe for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so he stood, and let's just be clear. Even Martin Luther King, before his assassination, literally predicted that he will be assassinated. He said longevity ain't for everybody. Yeah. He literally said that in a meeting because he knew, because there were several attempts on his life. Mm-hmm. He knew that eventually somebody was going to succeed. Awesome. But he had to convince himself that he was going to be a martyr for the truth. I'm going to die telling this truth, and if I'm going to tell this truth, I'm gonna accept full responsibility for whatever happened. And when I look at the Charlie Kirk situation, being that this brother toured major colleges, setting up his booth on the outside of the college, right in the range of anybody who wanted to do something to him, and he challenged everything and everybody, from politics to colleges. He literally his stance was college was a waste of money. Mm-hmm. Now think about that. He's at the college telling the students that done paid big tuitions and owe a lot of money to complete their education, that you've been hoodwinked. College don't help you. And his point was relevant, but it was a harsh pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, it was a blow to a current system. A big blow to a current system, a current machine that's been running for years. We have an original example of everything that was just spoken, and that was when Jesus challenged the Pharisees right in front, open back and forth in front of the people. Mm-hmm. Jesus was a problem to the Pharisees, to the Sanhedrin, the older, more scholar Pharisees. But it wasn't the thought of assassination or the thought of executing Jesus. It wasn't until he literally exposed their workings, their way of how they were claiming that they were living by God's law, but how they were using the law to oppress the people. Mm-hmm. How they were keeping people in a certain understanding that, or in a way to where they did what it is that they wanted them to do. Oh, this law says this, or this law is doing a law that they weren't even following. Christ told them, you all have people doing everything and all this, but you yourselves commit these same these same heinous acts. Right. You all go against the same law that y'all are trying to set forth and use to keep people in line with what y'all want to do. Right. So much. Malcolm X, and the Muslim order that the Muslims that took him out. It's because he came into a place of knowing what it really is. Yeah. Whether it's Muslim, whether it's Christianity, whether it's whatever religion, religion can at times, not at times, but religion can be it's a sense of falsehood, if you will, as it pertains to following God, to following a certain leader. Mm-hmm. I see why people say it's of control. God teaches us, he gives us understanding of religion, but man's made religion, societal religion, it keeps folks in the box of really knowing truth and really establishing a relationship with God. True. When you come into a place where you're bringing forth the truth and breaking people free, as you say, you're going against the grain. Christ literally told the believers that you're going to die for this.
But how many are truly ready to die for it? Like, you know, that's the whole thing there. Like, and that's why I believe the Lord made that clear, that, you know this, and because it's gonna come a point to where you're not even thinking about it when that day is called. Like, you know, he had no idea he was gonna be assassinated. He showed up, you know, to do what he usually does.
Yeah.
You know, and keeping that, you know, it, like I said, it's not just about him and his physically being assassinated. It is also about the assassination of the character, the assassination period of the truth in the narrative, because it's not just the assassination of character, it can be an assassination of the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas church as usual it has become an assassination of the narrative of what God really wants church to be. You know, churchly life and righteous living has the narrative behind it has been assassinated, so that now so many people can do what they want to do outside of the church walls, and then say, okay, well, I'm still a man of God, I'm still a woman of God, you know. But you can see it in their everyday lives that, you know, the actual principles that the Lord has said we should live by has been assassinated. Mm-hmm. They in place of what they want to live, based off of what the way that they want to live. We discussed that last week a little bit too, as far as, you know, with the other LGBT community, you know, that you know wanted to do that, like, you know, that the ministers that are doing that, you know, that have whole churches, you know, and they literally have assassinated the whole perspective of what God says worship truly is. Yeah. They've assassinated the thing when it comes down to family. They've said, okay, look, you know, they hid that behind people being molested and things going on in these dysfunctional homes. Yeah. You know, what both parents weren't there, and they say, well, you know what, we're offering this child a better place. Yeah. So because we're offering them a better place, forget the fact that we couldn't have this child physically, and because the Lord's will has come upon us as far as showing us that we can't physically, by we I mean them, because it's not me, you know what I'm saying, but like basically they wanted to assassinate that. They've assassinated the whole household family unit in so much of the way that it should be. Yeah. That a man and a woman are supposed to be in this house and raising children in a wholesome way, but they've said, okay, look, let's throw away God's ideal on what this is, and then now we can have this family unit. Just so we can have the family unit and justify it, then, you know, we'll just bring this under the banner that we're being good parents. We didn't have to birth them, you know, we didn't have to go through the Lord's way to make these our children. We just have to offer them a better life. Yeah. You know, so it's like I said, assassination is something that is prevalent when it comes down to the truth. It's either accept the narrative that society wants to give, because so much of society is not in the right place with the Lord. The ruler of this Lord is in conflict with God. Yeah. So, and since he is the ruler of the world, Christ even called him the ruler of this world. Mm-hmm. So he's in conflict with God, and because he is at the will, so much assassination is prevalent in every type of way.
And they actually assassinated the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is being assassinated.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, because what we're doing now is we're living in a time where they're saying, you know, wrong is right and right is wrong. And it's like, no, we're gonna ride this until we convince everybody to agree with what is wrong and make it and accept it as right. For example, Snoop Dogg is up under Snoop Doggy Dogg.
You feel me?
Is under scrutiny right now because he took his grandchild to the movies to watch Toy Story, and one of the scenes, two ladies had a baby, and the child said, "Hey, Pops, how is it possible if these two ladies can have a baby?" And Snoop was like, "Hey man, listen, I don't want to have to deal with no questions like that. Like, just keep watching the movie. Don't worry about it." But no, Pops. Man. How's it possible?
Like,
and so his problem with that was, why should I have to explain something that's defiling what is naturally right to my child? Perhaps maybe y'all should leave the agenda of the homosexuality, LGBTQ community out of the movies, especially when the movies are catering to children.
Well, I mean, it's a whole... They're starting at a very early age of killing truth. They're killing identity of the.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Identity of man and woman.
But here's the result. Here's the response. now a famous person is under scrutiny. He's been attacked by the people who perpetuate the LGBTQ community agenda. Other people, other stars pulled away. Do you not know that these people can lose investors? They can lose sponsors, all because they're telling the truth. Because the truth is being assassinated in such a way until you can lose your livelihood, your reputation, and your position in life. So where are we in this world? We're in a place in this world where the truth is being assassinated.
Yep.
And if you are a perpetuator of the truth, you'll be assassinated with it. But here's the reality. I don't believe, once again, that Charlie Kirk did not have in the back of his mind that something like what took place was going to happen to him. I think he knew, because you can't rattle the cage of the enemy that much and not know that it's going to cost you at some point.
When
You can't.
So the thing with the Pharisees was that Jesus he was against what they were doing, but he was gaining power, and that power was becoming a threat. Charlie Kirk, you're not going to be able to get to that level. Say what you're going to say, because the simple fact is you have folks that shows are getting canceled for speaking his name, for talking about it. You have people that's sitting up and talking about
It's dividing.
it's nationwide news about him. So I can only imagine the understanding and knowledge that he had, the effect that it would happen to where people would have no choice but to wake up. Because what he said about colleges, all that, you couldn't avoid looking at that.
Even the colleges said it.
You can't avoid looking at that. When you're pretty much, you're forcing the enemy's hand at that point.
Dude,
so he had to have
he had to know that at some point, I mean, he would literally question people, transgender men and women who were trying to be masculine. And his main question was, what's the definition of a woman? You would ask them that. And the most ridiculous response ever is, whatever you choose you want to be.
It's that I want
You see what I'm saying?
real quick.
Somebody actually said that on there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry to
Yeah, tell me.
literally the enemy, Satan, wants to destroy, which has been, I believe in the words from the beginning, but he wants to ultimately destroy God's creation. That's man. We're literally God's greatest creation here on earth. And he's literally wanting to, his thing is to show God.
Anything to refute, he wants to refute the truth. Anything to make the truth not seem what it is, not seem truthful.
And he's ultimately, he's ultimately trying to destroy that creation, because now it's at a place where kids can either choose whether to be one or the other or be trans. When you look at God's creation, it's man and woman. That's the nature of it. Now you're making like another hybrid, like, or if you will, you're creating to another type of being that's not human. You're literally taking man out of the human element, and then not to mention AI is coming into the picture and everything like that. You're assassinating the creation of God. Truth, literally.
You're assassinating truth.
So the enemy is after your knowledge of God, pretty much, and he is trying his best to confuse you through keeping the truth from you. So, and since the truth itself is the same as he can't do nothing about God, you can't do nothing about the truth. It's the same exact thing. The truth stands alone. It is of God. So since he can't do nothing about it, then he wraps it up in a whole lot of other choices. And assassination is one of the many tools that he will use. Okay, if you're going to get outside of the ways that I can control you, if you're going to speak a truth that is so absolutely clear and true that now I cannot shroud dwelling in darkness in no way, shape, or form, then now you got to worry about assassination. And that is character assassination is being one of them, and physical assassination of the character. And another truth as far as that has been assassinated, speaking of assassination of the truth, the home, like there's always a different narrative that they're putting in place. So statistics has proven that fathers in the home are better than fathers outside of the home. Houses and family units that have both mother and father, a 2-parent unit as according unto God, not as in the 2-parent unit as far as two people that's responsible adults in the house. No, 2 people as far as man, woman in the house raising the children together. Those households and those children that come up that way are statistically proven. Statistics say this, that they do better, to come out better, in life. Now, when it comes down to the home, as far as the LGBT community, that's an assassination of the home. They're saying, okay, look, we can pretty much give this child a home, despite the fact that the law of God says that a family consists of a mother and a father, not a mother and a father who identifies with the role as a mother and father, but one who is born this way, thereby identifying within this role. Also, the family unit in the black families and homes has been attacked, not just in no LGBTQ community sort of way, but in so much as they told the black woman back in the 60s when they started having the housing and giving them affordable housing and all that, they said the man can't be in the home. He can't be there. So now they have destroyed the black home, and now women have got to the point, most of the black women, some of them are dealing with identity issues as far as, hey, look, I don't need a man. Their identity is masculine within itself, since they have told themselves, I have to be the man, because society attacked and assassinated the home of the black family in the way that they took that out, knowing that it is statistically better. White families, they grow up with both parents and things like that. They can be dysfunctional. I'm not talking about the dysfunctional families. I'm talking about the ones that work and that prove that works. They have both parents in the home. Now, in the black community, all of this evil work is going on. There's assassination of character, there's murder, there's black on black crime, there's all of this because the home itself is assassinated. So you can see how the enemy's assassination attempt, when it is carried out, it usually works quite well. It's quite effective in his tool case.
Everything that goes against God, God's agenda, God's purpose for his creation is also always influenced by the enemy, because everything that God has done, everything that God has set in play, everything that God has mandated, the enemy seeks to destroy it, because he knows that whatever God did, he did it for the purpose of things to be to advance, to be well, and to be well pleasing to him. So when God created man and woman, of course he created the perfect dynamic of what a family is. And that's why he made sure that only a man and a woman could procreate and produce other human beings. And then, of course, there's assigned roles to those 2 people who is part of that family unit. The woman who's the nurturer, the woman who's the manager, the one who has the ability to work hard with her hands and still be efficient, to multitask and to all those things. And then the husband, who's the head of the household, who has the testosterone output to be able to protect from danger, to be able to have the wherewithal to solve problems and come to resolve and all of those other things. And then those 2 units is perfect for what it pertains to performing or bringing offspring into the world. The devil fights that. Of course, that's why he's releasing an agenda that says 2 men to be living together as husband and husband. And notice, they don't have any problems with adopting children.
They used to, though.
But
they used to. Now the narrative is
changed. Look, they don't have a problem because, let's just be honest, since the tenure of our black president, who released the stronghold or demonic system and power of the homosexual community by opening up the floodgates for all of the Sodom and Gomorrah that we're seeing, has now opened the door so that now freedom of this society is saying, hey, we got rights now. And so that's why they're giving them the ability to be able to raise children. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's still an assassination of truth. It's assassination of character. It's assassination of what God has created things to be and how God created things to be. And if you are an individual that speaks against what the world is trying to make true, then of course you become public enemy. You become one that has to be quieted. And Charlie Kirk was silenced. If you just look at it for what it was a silence of a truth, and someone that you couldn't ignore him because of the knowledge that he had of the truth. Because if you refuted him on social issues, he knew all of the social issues. He did all of the studies. He knew all of the researchable information and statistics to be able to tell you exactly what the truth is. If you rebutted with him against religion, he knew the Bible. He knew what the Word of God says. He knew what Jesus Christ was sent into the world for. He knew that God had an intention to show us love that we could not receive or not earn in our own right. And he perpetuated that truth, and it made him an enemy. And that's why, yet again, he had to be silenced.
Had to. There was nothing else they could do, because if you tried to refute it, then it's evident what he's saying is true. And ultimately, that's what it is when it comes to assassinate. When you think of assassination, most of the time when it comes to that, it's simply because, again, they're trying to, like you said, hush or quiet. They're trying to stop an exposure or stop something from happening. When it comes to the enemy, he seeks to steal, he seeks to kill, and he seeks to destroy. Yeah. He's seeking to steal, kill, and destroy, as you said, man of God. The thing that God is establishing, like I was speaking on, he's the assassination of the family, the black family. When you have options like Section 8, what's the
low-income housing,
low-income housing, child support. When you have things,
public aid,
one part of of the family independent or not look to the other half, has God designed it to be able to rely on that half. You now have yourself where it's a contrast. Now it's a place where that is now broken up. That right there is an assassination. Man's drive, man's will. Man's drive. What drives us, what keeps us going, is to do what it is that man is supposed to do: provide, protect, teach, bring up our families. And so, it's all an orchestrated assassination, as you said, man of God, on truth, on it all. Charlie Kirk was of that truth, and simply, they just had to shut him up. They simply had to quiet him because he gotten too high, gotten too big, and what he was saying, we couldn't refuse. So the only thing they could do was that. Yeah.
So now the man of God just said he had to go. So, and this was the topic, a great topic on assassination. But we covered here the assassination of Charlie Kirk being at the center of it. But we went into different other methods and ways that assassination occurs, being it physical assassination and character assassination, being it systematic assassination of certain systems of belief, assassination. All different sorts of assassination, and this is a topic that could go on and on and on, and we haven't even tipped the iceberg on the things that could have been covered here, and I'll say that it was opinion, for the sake of the broadcast, it was all opinion. These was our opinions as men of God. So to next time, see it clear.
Okay. Peace.